Emily Carter stood before the large mirror in her lavish bridal suite, her trembling fingers tracing the delicate lace of her white wedding gown. The golden glow of the evening sun streamed through the tall windows, illuminating the rich mahogany furniture, velvet armchairs, and a sparkling crystal chandelier that hung overhead. Today, she had officially become Mrs. Emily Williams, the wife of Andrew Williams, heir to the illustrious Williams Group, a man adored by many, and the envy of even more. Their wedding had been the talk of the town, held in the grand Williams estate, a sprawling mansion filled with art, antique carpets, and heirlooms that spoke of old money and deep-rooted prestige. Every detail had been perfect. The string quartet in the garden, the meticulously arranged flowers, the endless champagne. Emily believed this was the beginning of her fairy tale. She had fallen in love with Andrew's charm, his confidence, and the sense of security that seemed to surround him like an aura. In the weeks that followed, Emily embraced her new life with wonder and gratitude. She awoke each morning to the soft rustle of housekeepers preparing breakfast, dined on fine china under glittering chandeliers, and spent afternoons wandering through halls lined with priceless paintings. Andrew was attentive, showering her with gifts, kisses, and laughter. Their honeymoon had taken them to the Amalfi Coast, where he promised her a life of endless beauty and comfort. But beneath this veneer of luxury, small signs of unease began to surface, signs that Emily, in her bliss, chose to ignore. The hushed conversations that stopped when she entered the room, the occasional phone call Andrew would take in another language, his tone sharp and urgent. The tense dinners where her mother-in-law, Elizabeth, stared blankly into her glass of wine. Emily told herself it was nothing. Every family had its secrets, and surely, in a family as powerful as the Williams, discretion was paramount. Then, one chilly morning in March, everything changed. Emily awoke to an unfamiliar stillness. The usual bustle of staff preparing breakfast was absent. The dining room felt cold, almost abandoned. Elizabeth sat alone at the head of the long oak table, her elegant posture replaced by a rigid, almost fragile stillness. Her skin looked pale against the dark silk of her robe, and her eyes, usually piercing and proud, were hollow. "Mother, where's Andrew?" Emily asked gently, her voice breaking the heavy silence. Elizabeth's gaze slowly lifted to meet hers. There was a long pause and then a soft, brittle reply. "He's out, trying to fix things. Don't worry, Emily, everything will be fine." But her words lacked conviction, and her expression betrayed her. Later that day, as Emily absent-mindedly scrolled through her phone, a news alert flashed across the screen. Williams Group files for bankruptcy after major financial scandal. Estimated debt in the hundreds of millions. Her breath caught. The screen blurred as tears welled up in her eyes. That evening, Andrew finally returned, his face weary and withdrawn. Without a word, he poured himself a drink and disappeared into his study. Emily followed him, heart pounding, but he brushed past her questions. "Not now, Emily," was all he said. Within days, the gravity of their downfall became impossible to ignore. The mansion, the grand estate she had come to call home, was seized by creditors. Artworks, furniture, even the chandelier that had watched over their wedding reception was removed, tagged for auction. Emily and her once proud in-laws were forced to move into a cramped apartment on the outskirts of the city, a stark contrast to the splendor she had grown used to. The wallpaper was peeling, the floorboards creaked, and there was a damp smell she couldn't quite rid the kitchen of. Their new dining table was a scratched plastic affair, Surrounded by mismatched chairs, Andrew changed. Gone was the confident, affectionate man she had married. He became irritable, distant, and dismissive. Whenever Emily asked about his plans, he snapped. "Do you think I wanted this? Do you think this is easy for me?" Elizabeth, too, transformed. Her polite tolerance of Emily dissolved into cold criticism. "You need to understand your place here now," she hissed one evening as Emily hesitated before serving dinner. "We are no longer living in a mansion, Emily. There is no staff. You are a wife, not a guest." Emily sat alone most evenings, staring at the diamond ring on her finger, its sparkle feeling almost like a cruel joke. She had thought marriage would be filled with joy, partnership, and shared dreams. Instead, it felt like she was drowning in debts and disillusionment. And then came the final blow. Andrew stopped coming home regularly. He claimed to be working late, meeting potential investors, looking for jobs, anything that would bring their family back to glory. But Emily felt something was wrong. One night, as she cleared the kitchen table, Andrew's phone buzzed on the counter. Her fingers hesitated as she saw the name flash on the screen. Sophie. Private. Her heart thudded painfully. Unable to resist, she opened the message. "I know you hate living in that cramped apartment. Leave her, Andrew. I can give you everything again. Come to my place tomorrow." Emily's world tilted. Her legs gave way beneath her, and she sank to the cold linoleum floor, tears running down her face. The betrayal cut deeper than the bankruptcy, deeper than the loss of luxury. She stared at her wedding ring under the dim kitchen light, its diamonds glittering mockingly. The life she thought she had, the future she had dreamed of, had vanished in just 3 months. What is marriage really about? She wondered. Can love survive when the wealth is gone? And most painfully of all, what should I do now? The days that followed were suffocating. Emily tried to act as though nothing had changed, as though the message she'd read was just a misunderstanding, a cruel joke perhaps. But deep down, she knew. She saw it in Andrew's eyes, the way he avoided her gaze, the excuses he mumbled when he slipped out late at night. The man she had married, who had once whispered promises into her ear on the Amalfi Cliffs, was slipping away. Their apartment, already small, felt even smaller now. Silence filled every corner. Elizabeth, her mother-in-law, spoke only to criticize. The meals Emily prepared weren't good enough. The laundry wasn't folded correctly. The floors weren't clean enough. Once the matriarch of a grand estate, Elizabeth now lashed out, her pride wounded, her grief redirected at the only person left who could not fight back, Emily. And Andrew? He came and went like a ghost. One rainy evening, after yet another cold dinner eaten alone, Emily made a decision. She needed answers. When Andrew returned that night, soaked from the rain, she didn't wait. "Andrew," she said softly but firmly, "we need to talk." He paused in the doorway, brushing rain from his hair, eyes tired but distant. "Emily, please, not tonight." But she wouldn't let him walk past her. "How long has this been going on?" "Sophie, who is she to you?" Andrew froze, his face paling for just a moment before a bitter smile appeared. "So, you've seen the messages." Emily's heart clenched. "Yes, and I deserve the truth." There was a long silence. The rain outside beat against the window in a steady rhythm. Finally, Andrew spoke. "Sophie, she was there for me when everything fell apart. You don't understand, Emily. You never lived under this pressure. The expectations, the responsibilities. When the company collapsed, everyone looked at me like I had failed them. My mother, our friends, you. His words stung. "I never blamed you," Emily whispered. "But I felt blamed," he snapped. "I felt like a failure, and Sophie, she made me feel wanted again, important." The words were like knives. Emily swallowed hard, blinking away tears. "And what about me, Andrew? What was I to you? Just another piece of your life to abandon when things got hard?" Andrew didn't answer. His silence spoke louder than any words. That night, Emily lay awake, staring at the ceiling of their cramped bedroom. Andrew slept on the couch, his back turned to her, as distant emotionally as he was physically. The apartment smelled faintly of mildew and stale air, a far cry from the lavender-scented sheets of the Williams estate. The next morning, Emily packed a small suitcase. She didn't know exactly where she would go, but she knew she couldn't stay here. Not like this. As she folded her clothes, Elizabeth watched from the kitchen doorway, arms crossed. "So you're leaving," Elizabeth said coldly, her lips curling in disdain. Emily paused, meeting her gaze. "Yes, I am," Elizabeth sneered. "Running away at the first real hardship? I knew you weren't strong enough for this family." Her words, meant to wound, fell flat. Emily realized something profound in that moment. She was stronger than they had ever imagined. Without another word, she zipped her suitcase and walked out the door. Outside, the city air felt sharp and cold, but it was liberating. For the first time in weeks, Emily could breathe. She checked into a modest hostel downtown, a place filled with travelers, artists, and students. No velvet curtains or grand chandeliers here, just simple beds, shared kitchens, and warm conversation. Emily sat at a small cafe that afternoon, sipping coffee, watching the world go by. And slowly, she began to think about her next steps. She had a degree in art history, a passion she had all but abandoned when she married Andrew. Perhaps it was time to rediscover that love. The city was filled with museums, galleries, and opportunities she had never dared to explore before. Days turned into weeks. Emily found work at a local art gallery. Not glamorous, but honest. She took pride in arranging exhibitions, guiding tourists through collections, and curating small but meaningful displays. Each day, she grew stronger, more independent, more herself. Sometimes at night, she would think of Andrew, wonder where he was, whether he was still seeing Sophie, whether he regretted anything, but those thoughts grew less frequent as time passed. Meanwhile, news of the Williams family occasionally appeared in the press. Their assets continued to dwindle. Rumors swirled about Elizabeth being forced to take a job at a boutique clothing store. Andrew's name was absent from business circles. It was as if the world had moved on, and so had Emily. But there was one more surprise awaiting her. 6 weeks after she had walked away, Emily discovered she was pregnant. Sitting alone in the small bathroom of her rented studio apartment, holding the test in trembling fingers, she felt a rush of emotions. Fear, sadness, but also hope. For the first time, she realized that this child could be the beginning of something new. A chance to build a life not defined by wealth or status, but by love and resilience. That night, as she sat by the window watching the city lights twinkle, she whispered softly to herself, "I will be enough for me and for this baby. And for this." The weeks that followed Emily's discovery of her pregnancy were both challenging and transformative. In the quiet solitude of her small studio apartment, she began to redefine what happiness meant to her. No longer tied to the glittering illusion of wealth or the cold, empty approval of the Williams family, she finally allowed herself to feel free. She kept working at the gallery, and as her pregnancy progressed, she found unexpected joy in simple things: arranging flowers for a new exhibit, helping an elderly couple appreciate a painting's hidden details, laughing with coworkers during their lunch breaks. These ordinary moments felt far more real than any champagne-filled gala or luxurious holiday she had shared with Andrew. Her body was changing, and so was her heart. As autumn arrived, Emily spent more time preparing for the arrival of her child. She bought secondhand baby clothes, repainted an old rocking chair she found at a thrift store, and filled her bookshelf with parenting books. Though money was tight, she was determined that this child would know love, not loneliness. But despite the progress she made, some nights were still difficult. Loneliness crept in like a cold draft, and she would lie awake wondering whether Andrew even knew she was pregnant. Should she tell him? Would he care? Did he deserve to know? She wrestled with these thoughts, but ultimately decided she had nothing to hide or to prove. Andrew had made his choice. One rainy afternoon, as she sat reading in the gallery, a familiar figure appeared at the entrance. It was Andrew. He looked different now. Thinner, weary, his suit wrinkled and no longer perfectly tailored. His eyes scanned the room nervously until they found her. Their gazes met, and for a moment, neither spoke. The hum of quiet conversations and the soft shuffle of visitors seemed to fade away. Finally he approached. "Emily," he said, his voice hoarse, "can we talk?" She nodded, gesturing toward a small bench near the window. They sat side by side, a heavy silence hanging between them. "I heard," Andrew finally said, staring at his hands, "about the baby." Emily took a deep breath. "Yes, I'm pregnant." Andrew nodded slowly. "I'm sorry, Emily, for everything. I was weak. I thought I needed Sophie. I thought I needed someone to fix everything for me. But I was wrong. She's gone now, too. I lost everything. And when I realized you were carrying our child, it hit me that I lost the only person who ever truly cared." His voice cracked at the last words. Emily felt a strange mix of emotions. Sorrow, anger, and compassion all swirling at once. She had waited for this apology, but now that it had arrived, it didn't feel as powerful as she imagined it would. Perhaps because she had already moved beyond needing it. She looked at him gently but firmly. "Andrew, I don't hate you, but I'm not the same woman you married. I don't need a life of luxury or promises anymore. What I need is stability and peace, for me and for this child." Andrew's eyes glistened. Can I be part of this child's life? I know I've failed you, but I don't want to fail him or her too." Emily was silent for a long moment. She could see that he was sincere. He was no longer the arrogant heir she had once married, but a broken man trying to rebuild himself. At last, she spoke quietly. "If you want to be in this child's life, it has to be on my terms. No more empty promises, no more lies. The baby will come first, always." Andrew nodded, wiping away a tear. "I understand." In that moment, Emily realized this was not the reunion she had imagined months ago. This wasn't about rekindling their love or restoring what they had lost. It was about something deeper, forgiveness and responsibility. After their conversation, Andrew began visiting the gallery occasionally. He attended doctor's appointments with Emily, bought small things for the baby, nothing extravagant, but thoughtful. He respected her boundaries, never pushing for more than she offered. Slowly, they began to rebuild a different kind of relationship, one based not on romance, but on shared care for their future child. On a crisp winter morning, Emily gave birth to a baby boy. As she held him for the first time, tears streaming down her cheeks, she felt a deep, profound joy. A joy far greater than anything she had ever felt in the halls of the Williams estate. She named him Noah. In the following months, Emily continued working part-time, balancing motherhood with her passion for art. Her friends from the gallery became her support system, helping her when things became overwhelming. Andrew remained present, but at a distance, honoring her independence while being a caring father to Noah. He worked odd jobs, rebuilding his own life slowly and humbly. And as Emily rocked Noah to sleep each night, she reflected on everything she had endured. The mansion was gone. The riches were gone. The fairy tale was gone. But in their place, something far more beautiful had grown. A quiet, real, imperfect life filled with love. Emily no longer dreamed of castles or chandeliers. Instead, she cherished soft baby giggles, warm cups of tea, honest conversations, and the knowledge that she had survived heartbreak and betrayal and emerged stronger than she ever thought possible. And she knew, deep in her heart, that this was the life she was always meant to live.